Hey guys, I'm the Comics Kid 2099. I am going to be doing 3 videos all wearing the same shirt. If you watch these videos, do not assume that I am wearing the same shirt across multiple days. I'm filming all these videos in the same day because earlier this week I read 3 graphic novels, not all on the same day, 2 of them on the same day. The first one I want to talk about, Batman Imposters. This is written by David Hine, drawn by Scott McDaniel. He is probably the most well known for his art on Nightwing in the mid-ish 90s. I like his art okay. Here, I don't feel like it's quite as good as it was in Nightwing. It was a little better in Nightwing, I think. It's still not too different, but I liked it better in Nightwing. Still pretty serviceable. I've said before, I'm much more of a story guy, so I don't really feel very qualified to talk about art, to really criticize it. So, you know, I liked it okay here. I don't have much else to say. David Hine has done some stuff that I've read. Most recently he wrote something, most recently that I read, he wrote The Bulletproof Coffin, I believe was what it was called. He's done some other stuff in the world of Batman and in the world of X-Men, if I'm not mistaken. This book, it was okay. First and foremost, it says here on the cover, based off of a video game. And I think that is the big problem. This is based off of a video game. I have never played the video game Gotham Imposters, Gotham City Imposters. I've never played it. Essentially, as I understand it, the plot is you've got people dressed up as the Joker, you've got people dressed up as Batman, they fight. That's it. I haven't played the video game, so I don't know. Maybe it's like War and Peace. Maybe there is a plot. Maybe it's very involved. I highly doubt it, though. I haven't heard anyone say anything about the video game, good or bad. That doesn't really scream that it's a very good video game to me when nobody said anything about it. Then again, this is from like 2008, I think. I'm not going to look inside to see when it's from, but I get the feeling that the video game wasn't that good. Maybe somebody high up said, well, the video game needs to be hyped a lot, so let's have a story arc in Detective Comics that kind of ties into that video game. And ultimately, I don't think that is ever the right approach to doing comic books. I think you need to have a story that organically comes out of what has come before, or organically comes out of the characters that you have, something like that. This is not organic. It comes out of, we have a video game, let's do a story based on that video game. Now, admittedly, I don't think that David Hine is doing a bad job here. I think he's doing the best with what he is given, which is a video game that probably doesn't have that much of a plot, and he has to try and come up with something. There is some stuff here that I think he could have done a better job with. For example, there's one page where Batman is teaming up with Renee Montoya, who at this point was the Question. She was a cop in Gotham City. She first appeared in Batman the Animated Series, if I'm not mistaken. I know who she is because I've read stuff like 52, Final Crisis. She was... sorry. I've read stuff that she's been in, like 52 and Final Crisis, so I know who she is. Someone else who has never read any of those, who never watched Batman the Animated Series, who's never read any of the Batman comics of the 1990s where she appeared, they would read this and they would have no clue who this character is, because David Hine does not do a very good job of introducing this character. She just is there in one page of this story, and then you don't see or hear from her again for the entire thing. I don't know if she's in the video game or not. I haven't played the video game, like I said. If she is, I think she needs to have more of a presence here in this story, or at the very least, someone needs to introduce her. It needs to be something like there's a caption where Batman is thinking, Renee Montoya, she's a rookie, but she's got a good heart. Something like that. You need to introduce this character, because even for somebody who's been reading comics for a long time, they might not know who she is. They might only have been reading X-Men comics their whole life, and then this might be the very first Batman comic that they pick up. They're not going to have a clue who this person without a face is who's wearing a hat and a trench coat. They won't know. You cannot assume that your audience knows everything that you know, or knows everything that you are putting into the story but you are not saying. You need to be very clear on what has happened before if it's going to be in the story that you are writing. Beyond that, like I said, David Hine... I am so sorry, guys. I got 2 cats here. They're misbehaving. Anyway, I'm not even going to edit that out. This is going to be raw footage, guys. This story, David Hein, like I said, he does better than what anyone else could have done, maybe. That's not fair. I'm sure there's others who could have done better. He does as good of a job as he could have done. I think that's where I'm going with this. The basic plot is not bad. It's saying that years ago, the Joker poisoned some people with his Joker venom, and that kind of, gave them the classic smile thing. And then, because they were stoned on, I guess, just whatever they're stoned on, I don't know about drugs, so I don't know. Whatever they were stoned on prevented them from actually dying. So this one guy, he's in the hospital for years. People think that he's just brain dead, and Bruce Wayne is paying to keep him alive because the family wants him alive. Well, then it turns out he's actually not brain dead. He's just been paralyzed this entire time, and then somehow the doctors, they're able to wake him up and get him not paralyzed. I don't even know how that happens. They just wake him up one day and he's no longer paralyzed. And he wants to get revenge on Batman because we don't find this out until the very end of the story. He actually had his girlfriend / almost fiance up on the roof with him when the Joker had poisoned him. We did not know that. Batman did not know that. And she was also stoned on whatever he was stoned on, so the Joker venom gas stuff, it goes to her. And it also paralyzes her, but does not kill her. But since she's up on a roof that apparently no human being ever goes up on, except for those 4 people at that one time, she's up there and she dies. She just rots away, but she's like apparently alive when the vultures are coming and eating her flesh, whatever. It's kind of gross. So this guy, this false Joker, as we will call him, he wants to get revenge on Batman for letting this girl die, this girl that he loved. And so he has created this temporary Joker toxin that will Jokerify people. It will make them look like the Joker, but it's temporary and they can revert back to their normal selves. And at least at first, it's not really a harmful thing. Like, these people, they are just dressing up as in their pink and not pink, they're purple and green clothes, and then they're taking these pills or whatever that turn them into looking like the Joker. And usually it's just like, let's just paint graffiti, or let's just ride pogo sticks through the mall, or tie people up in giant bows, stuff like that. They're not really doing any harm. But then this false Joker guy, he shoots a cop, and that kind of starts this escalation thing, where suddenly you've got the cops, they're now angry, they've shot one of the Jokers, with a Z, kind of like Batman Beyond, and then the Joker people, they're upset that one of their own has been shot because one of their own was shot because one of the Batman was shot, not Batman, one of the cops. I'll get to the Batman in a minute. So it basically just escalates. At this point, the Jokers, they're no longer being playful, now they're just being angry, and they're taking this Joker venom stuff that not only turns them into looking like the Joker, but then they've also got like steroid power, so they're kind of stronger than normal. And basically, this guy, he just wants to make a point to Batman that Gotham is crap because of him. That's basically what he wants to do. It's really not a new idea at all. This has been present as far back as Batman Year One. It was used a little bit in The Long Halloween. It was used a little bit in Batman Begins. I don't know if that is part of the video game and David Hein was forced to use that idea, but it's really not a brand new idea, and David Hein is kind of acting like he is just a brilliant guy for putting that here, and that's the theme of this story. It's really not all that new, and it's not really handled all that well here. Also, this book doesn't really feel like it is part of the Batman line of stories. Now, usually, that sort of thing doesn't really bother me, because most Batman stories, they are just kind of standalone. You can read them almost in any order. Occasionally there will be a certain order that you have to read them in, but for the most part, they're just kind of there, and you can read them out of order and it's still fine. This story, I almost get the feeling that David Hein doesn't really know a whole lot about Batman. I'm pretty certain that he has written something else Batman related before, but it's just little things, and I get the feeling okay, that does not feel like it belongs in this era of Batman stories. For example, the Oracle. She's hanging out in Bruce's cave, in the Batcave. Now, the Oracle has her own headquarters. She lives in a clock tower. It's wheelchair accessible. As far as I know, the Batcave is not. I don't understand why the Oracle would be hanging out in the Batcave when she is his digital ally. She can do stuff from the clock tower that he cannot do when he's out on the streets, or even necessarily from his cave. I don't understand why she would be in the cave doing the stuff that usually she could do from her clock tower. Like I said, that's a very little thing. It's not something that's going to bother a lot of people, but for me, when I've read as much Batman as I have read, that kind of stuck out at me, and it's like, are you sure you've ever read anything with Barbara Gordon before? Because this doesn't feel like you really know what's going on with this character. And then you have something else. In one of the flashbacks, Dick Grayson is wearing pants. Usually, when you see a Robin who's wearing the green panties, that's Dick Grayson. That's the way to tell him apart from some of the other Robins. Of course, him and Jason Todd, they had the same costumes, but if he's wearing pants, usually that means it's Damian or Tim Drake. If he's wearing pants and it's Dick Grayson, that's usually a mistake. Now, I don't know if that was Scott McDaniel, probably, since that was the art, but it just seems like another one of those things where that's a very simple thing to get right. You shouldn't be getting something like that wrong. And like I said, people who maybe haven't read as much Batman as I have, that's not going to bother them. But for me, it was a little thing. Like I said, I am not even trying to say that this is a huge thing, but it was just so minor, and yet at the same time, it would be so... Again, guys, I am really sorry. These cats over here, they're not behaving. It's such a little thing that shouldn't be something that you would get wrong, and yet they got these two little things wrong, and they really stuck out at me. There were a few other things here that felt like that's not something that would happen, or that doesn't really fit with everything else that we've gotten before. For example, at one point, and this is not a minor thing, in my opinion, this is kind of a big thing. At one point, Batman samples the sample Joker Venom, the false Joker Venom stuff, just right in the middle of his house, dressed up like Batman. I don't know why. I don't know if that's in the video game or if this is something that David Hine thought that Batman would do. Admittedly, there was a story set in the early days of Batman's career called Batman Venom. In that story, he started taking this drug called Venom to enhance his strength, and then when he realized that this was not enhancing his life as a crime fighter, but it was in fact holding him back, if you will, he had to go through detox for like an entire month. He locked himself up in a cave. He was very thorough in making sure the drug was out of his system. In this story, Alfred is in the room with him, and he just takes this stuff right in the middle of his home, and then he tries to punch Alfred, and he almost punches him. He hits a suit of armor instead, and then Alfred just walks out. I feel like Batman probably would not take the Joker Venom. I really don't see any reason that he would want to sample this, even if it was to understand what these people are going through. I really don't think that he would need that. I really don't think that he would take this drug right there with Alfred in the room. If you are one of the best fighters on the planet, you are not going to endanger the life of the man who has been like a father to you by taking this drug right there in front of him, where you then cannot trust your own self to do something like, what if you punch him like he almost did? I just don't feel like that is something that Batman would do. Ultimately, where do I come down on Batman Imposters? For the most part, it's very entertaining. If you've never read a Batman story before, you would probably enjoy this a lot. If you are one of the people who played the video game, and I've never heard anyone who played the video game, and you enjoyed the video game, I would suggest that you get this. You might enjoy it, I don't know. If you are a hardcore Batman fan, you may not enjoy this as much as other people. For the most part, I'm gonna say this clocks in at okay. It's not fantastic. It is not the worst Batman story that I've ever read, but it's not good either. It's just kind of there. It's not even really good. It's just kind of in between really bad and good. It's kind of somewhere in the middle of that little road. I would say, like I said, if you are a hardcore Batman fan, you probably already have this because you're wanting to buy more Batman stuff. You want all the Batman stuff, kind of like I sort of do. But yeah, other than that, I would say just play it by ear. If you think this is something that sounds interesting to you, people as the Joker and people as Batman fighting each other, then you probably would want to either A, play the video game, or B, read this story. Other than that, though, I'm not really sure if I would recommend this. I'm kind of leaning towards no, I wouldn't. So that's all I have to say about this book. Keep an eye out for some other videos later this week where I will be talking about some of the other books that I read. And until then, I will see you guys later. Have a great day.